You can't be so happy to change that you fuck life. You know how many celebrities went to Diddy's house thinking they was finna die.
They don't want him or me or people like us.
Yeah.
But now it's not necessary for us to store up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung a million.
I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the Puffy.
They weren't just going to the party. They were walking into something designed to change them. A machine that doesn't just reward submission, it requires it. And once you step into that machine, you don't walk out the same way you came in. Katt Williams saw it. He turned down the parties, turned down the money, and for years, they laughed at him, called him crazy, but he never stopped talking. And now, Terrence Howard is backing up everything Katt's been warning us about. Not just secret parties, not just weird rituals, but the deeper truth. That there's a system in Hollywood that breaks men and rewards the ones who stay broken. The ones who don't, they get left behind. Or worse, they get silenced. And now that Terrence has started talking, something's shifted. Because what he's saying isn't just threatening to the old guard, it's threatening to the new one. And if what insiders are whispering is true, Diddy's sons aren't just protecting the brand, they're protecting the power. And Terrence, he might have just become the first real target of this next generation machine. So what did he say that got them so scared? Why is Katt standing beside him now? And how far will they go to make sure this story disappears? Let's be real, Terrence Howard didn't just wake up one day and decide to expose Diddy. This isn't a PR move. This isn't a rant. This is a man who finally feels safe enough to say what he's been holding in for years. And what he said caught everyone off guard. He didn't say Diddy was weird. He didn't say the parties were excessive. He said that people, celebrities, were going to those parties and losing their manhood. That once they gave up their power, their dignity, their self-respect, they didn't get it back.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So
that's not a metaphor. That's not Hollywood gossip. That's a man looking into the camera and saying, I saw it. I was there. I know what they're doing. But before Terrence ever found the courage to speak out, there was one man who said these exact same things years earlier. One man who told us about the parties, the rituals, the humiliation tactics. And when he did, they tried to destroy him. His name is Katt Williams. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't high. He was the first one to stand up and say, this is what happens when you say no to the industry. And they blackballed him for it.
They don't want him or me or people like us.
Yeah.
But now it's not necessary for us to store up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung a million.
So when you see Katt standing behind Terrence now, it means something. This isn't just support, it's validation. It means Terrence is telling the truth, and the machine that came for Katt back then might be circling Terrence now. The difference is, Diddy isn't the only one in control anymore, because while the cameras were on Terrence, Diddy's sons were watching too. There's something people don't understand about Hollywood. It doesn't have to blacklist you loudly. It just stops calling. You're not banned, you're erased. That's exactly what happened to Katt. And now, it's what some insiders believe is happening to Terrence Howard. See, Terrence didn't just talk about manhood. He talked about how people lose it. He talked about the kind of parties Diddy throws, where deals are made, roles are offered, and something much deeper gets taken in return. And when you turn those offers down, you don't just lose the role, you lose the room.
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking.
That sounds casual until you realize what was really being asked, because according to Terrence, his own assistant had to spell it out.
So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get.
What you're hearing isn't just awkwardness. It's industry protocol. The invite, the bait, the test. Say yes, and you might level up. Say no, and the silence begins. That's exactly what Katt Williams tried to warn people about long before this moment, and he paid for it with his career.
And that there are things that are bigger than just coincidence, and that a ritual is something that you do over and over and over again a certain way.
Katt wasn't speaking in riddles, he was spelling it out. And back then, nobody believed him. But now that Terrence Howard is saying the exact same things years later with nothing to gain, the question becomes, why are they still enforcing this silence? And who's enforcing it now? According to sources close to the situation, it's not just Diddy anymore. It's the people who were raised in his image, the next generation of gatekeepers. This is where the story stops being about Diddy and starts being about the people protecting Diddy, because power never really disappears, it just gets passed down. And according to insiders close to the situation, Diddy's sons aren't just passive observers. They've allegedly become enforcers of the silence. Think about it. The timing, the energy shift. As soon as the allegations ramped up, as soon as Terrence started talking, the family circle got tighter. The defenses got cleaner. The media narrative changed. Sources say Diddy's sons have been quietly moving to restructure his image, control the damage, and keep the right people quiet. And if you think that's a stretch, remember what this industry runs on: legacy, loyalty, leverage. According to one insider familiar with how this works, it's not about scrubbing Diddy's name, it's about preserving the power of the Combs family name. And part of that strategy might mean removing threats before they get too loud.
30 years I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets.
That wasn't just a joke. That was a man describing what happens when you leave those parties with your dignity intact. The pain, the pressure, the blackmail. Terrence walked away. Katt refused to enter, and now both of them are linked by the system trying to silence them.
God. Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about.
He says it with humor, but what he's really saying is, they offered me everything, but I knew what they wanted in return. And now, Terrence Howard is saying the same thing, just with fewer jokes. Some insiders believe the sons are watching everything. Who speaks, who tweets, who reposts, and who needs to be reminded to stay quiet. And that brings us back to the original question: why now? Why would Terrence Howard choose this moment to finally say it all out loud? And if the rumors are true, did someone try to make sure he didn't? There's something you'll notice if you follow these Hollywood scandals long enough. The same patterns, the same victims, the same kind of headlines. But most of all, the same strategy. Turn the truth teller into the problem. That's exactly what happened to Katt. They said he was paranoid. They said he was crazy. But he wasn't making anything up. He was just telling the truth too early, before the receipts were safe to show. And if what insiders say is true, the same playbook might be already unfolding against Terrence Howard.
We don't protect the whistleblower, right? We don't honor the scout that would tell us who it is. Matter of fact, when they get him, we're going to go, I could have told you that was going to happen. They were telling too much truth.
That line hits harder than most people realize, because in this industry, truth doesn't set you free, it puts a target on your back. When Terrence refused Diddy's alleged advances, he didn't just walk away from a party, he walked away from the system that decides who wins and who vanishes. And that decision may have made him the next person to watch, or worse, the next one to eliminate. Sources close to the situation believe Diddy and his circle didn't just take rejection lightly. They remembered it, they documented it. And if recent rumors are accurate, they even weaponized it, using shame and humiliation as tools to keep everyone else in line.
Part of the ritual is wearing a dress. Then we should be able to look through entertainment and see all of these people being made to wear a dress.
This isn't just about cross-dressing. It's about compliance. It's about using humiliation as a rite of passage. And it's always the same play, especially with black entertainers who get too successful. Terrence said no. Katt said no. And both of them watched their careers stall the moment they refused to be part of the spectacle. But that's not the part that scares people. It's the part where those refusals aren't just punished, they're used. Because once you say no to the ritual, you don't just walk away. You become the example, the scapegoat, the unstable one. And if that doesn't work, according to one source, they'll simply find a way to eliminate you quietly. And that brings us to the most chilling question of all. Was Terrence Howard targeted not just for speaking, but for refusing. By now, the pattern is hard to ignore. But what happens when a man refuses to be broken, when he says no to the advances, the compromises, the rituals, the humiliation? That's where the real war begins. Because what people don't understand is, this system doesn't just punish you financially, it tries to erase you, rewriting your image, flipping your alliances, and making sure no one else dares to follow your path. Before Terrence ever told his story publicly, insiders say he spent years getting iced out, not just from roles, but from the protection that A-listers in Hollywood quietly offer each other. And all of that might trace back to a handful of parties, a couple of refusals, and one man's refusal to give up his man card.
Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at. There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep...
That phrase, lose your man card, may sound old school to some, but in this context, it's a death sentence. Terrence isn't just talking about dignity. He's talking about something sacred being taken in exchange for fame. And in this industry, that trade comes with a receipt and a contract.
That's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have...
It's a chilling concept. This idea that once you cross a line, there's no coming back. No matter how much money you make, no matter how big your name gets, you're now part of their world, and they own you.
Struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did. No matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever.
He names Bieber, others, all struggling with the same demons. It's not just about what they did, it's about the psychological toll of betrayal. Betrayal of self, betrayal of spirit. Even when you make it, you don't really feel like you made it. And maybe that's what haunts Terrence the most. Not that he said no, but that he paid the price in full. Financial ruin, isolation, tabloid smears, all because he believed in truth above everything. By now, it's becoming painfully clear. If you say no to certain people in this industry, they don't just walk away. They mark you. And few people understand this better than Terrence Howard. Here's a man who once stood at the top of Hollywood, Oscar-nominated, leading man, charisma for days, and yet somehow his career just evaporated. And when you look a little closer at why that happened, you start to see the pattern again. Terrence didn't fade away because he lacked talent. He faded because he said no. And just like so many others in this story, it came with a cost. Terrence knew exactly what was happening. Diddy wasn't asking him to come over and rehearse a scene. This was something else entirely. The request was quiet. The expectation was unspoken, but the consequences, loud. And the second he pulled away, the calls stopped. The roles dried up. That's not a coincidence. That's how a blacklist starts. But it didn't end there. Refusing Diddy's invite isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a message. And according to insiders, that message is loud and permanent, because if you're not down to play, they'll make sure you never forget what happens when you say no. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. Some say this isn't just about humiliation. It's not just about rejection. It's about leverage, the kind of leverage you can't walk away from, the kind allegedly backed by surveillance, secrets, and tapes. And sources say that when Terrence believes that the awkward invite was about that, sources in the industry, it was something more. A setup, an opening move in what insiders claim is a full manipulation structure. One built not just on access, but on control through shame. According to allegations from multiple lawsuits and inner circle testimony, Diddy didn't just party, he recorded. And those recordings weren't always consensual. Some sources claim he kept them as insurance. Others say they were used to pull strings when people got out of line. And here's where it gets even colder. Rumors suggest that some of these tapes may have been used by his sons, not to blackmail directly, but to carry the message. Look what happened to the last guy who didn't play ball. It's not hard to imagine. Diddy under fire, the legacy at risk, and a new generation of the Combses stepped in, not just to protect the name, but to carry the playbook forward. Social media accounts scrubbed clean, damage control statements issued, and according to some, quiet warnings sent to anyone thinking about speaking up. You don't just leave the system, you get erased or exposed.
These things that I'm saying in Hollywood exist in religious circles, in politics, in the medical profession, and yeah.
In any circle of business.
In an industry where most people fall in line, even one man telling the truth is a problem. 2. That's a rebellion. Terrence Howard and Katt Williams aren't just two disgruntled celebrities, they're men who refuse the machine and live to talk about it. And now, they're not just saying it louder, they're saying it together. For years, Katt warned us. He said the humiliation was part of the initiation. The dress, the silence, the party invites that weren't really invites at all. And when he didn't play the game, they labeled him unstable, angry, difficult. But now, Terrence Howard, the calm one, the Oscar nominee, the Hollywood good guy, is backing him up. And not with just vague allusions, with direct stories, with names, with receipts.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them.
This is what happens when you say no. You lose jobs, you lose friends, you lose your reputation, the most valuable currency in Hollywood. And insiders are saying that some already suspect Katt and Terrence are not the only ones. There are others watching, waiting, seeing how far these two go before someone tries to shut them down. In an industry built on illusion, sometimes the loudest silence is the one that follows the truth. Katt Williams didn't just warn us, he recorded everything. Terrence Howard didn't just speak up, he named the game. And now for the first time, we're watching a storm build from two different ends of the system. Two men who were supposed to never meet, never supposed to agree, and definitely never supposed to say this out loud. What happens next? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. But if the rumors are true, that Diddy's sons are now protecting the family brand, enforcing the silence, pulling strings from behind the curtain, then this isn't just a scandal, it's a cleanup job. A legacy preservation project. And Katt and Terrence, they're standing right in the way of that. Sources say this is just the beginning. Whispers of more tapes, more names, even a podcast. And if that mic ever gets turned on, Hollywood might never recover.